It is Friday. Let's bring in NHL Network insider Elliotte Friedman before we all head to the weekend. Elliotte, I will stick with the injury conversation here. Obviously, Nikita Kucherov missing in action for the Tampa Bay Lightning. What's the latest on when he could possibly return based on what you're hearing? And maybe a more important question is, how do you expect Tampa to approach his absence for as long as he's out?
Jackie, I don't think that this is going to be similar to last year in the sense that I don't think the Tampa's not planning for him to be gone for the rest of the regular season. Last year, they knew it was a situation where he wasn't going to be back and they could add to their roster, bolster their roster, and not bring him back until the playoffs. So they had this extra space on the salary cap. I don't think that's the plan here. I think there's a belief that he's going to be back. I know he hopes to play in the Olympics, which is obviously in February. From what I understand, they're going to see some specialists just to get an exact picture on what they're thinking here. They know this is going to be some term, but the last I checked, I was told they didn't know yet exactly what the term was going to be and what the prognosis was going to be. So the hope is he plays at the Olympics, and what it means is if you think they're going to try to add another $9 million player and then stack themselves for the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be able to, because I don't think the plan is for Kucherov to miss the rest of the regular season.
Well, let's hope not, because he's one of the great players. You want to see these guys playing. Let's go down to Dallas. They have their home opener tonight, taking on the LA Kings. And John Klingberg, his contract is expiring. They are maybe working on an extension. What is the talk there? Because I always felt, looking at their cap situation, that might be a tough one. What are you hearing?
Well, I think they took a big run at it, both sides, both Klingberg and the team. And Jeff Merrick reported last weekend that Klingberg was looking for somewhere around $62 to $65 million on an extension. Now, I don't think they're actually that far away. I think my belief is Dallas is in the mid to high 50s. And so there is something, like, I think the biggest thing in here is, is one side or the other willing to bend. I think that, Dallas was in a position where they kind of said they were willing to, they'd gone as far as they were willing to go. Let's see where this goes. But the one thing I do believe is I don't think Dallas is going to be in any race to trade Klingberg if they can't sign him. This is a year where they're going for the Stanley Cup, and if they have to keep Klingberg and he walks at the end of the season, then so be it. But you look at where the defensive market is, guys are going to get paid. Klingberg knows he's going to get paid. I think the question is he going to get paid in Dallas or elsewhere? I don't think they're that far apart, so we'll see where. Heiskanen's at 8.45. I think everybody knows that's Dallas's limit. I don't think they think anyone's going to be going higher than that, especially on a long-term deal.
All right, let's take it to the Rangers right now. They had a slow start, but they've bounced back, won a couple of games in a row. Nice victory against the Nashville Predators last night in Music City. What are we hearing about Vitaly Kravtsov? I mean, he was a first-round pick a couple of years ago. I saw him play last year. I thought, boy, this guy is going to be a player that's going to really fit in for the Rangers. There was some squabbles about his training, his conditioning. He doesn't make the team out of camp, and then he decides, I'm not going to go to the minors. What's the latest there? Is he getting moved? Is there a market for him? What do you hear on that front?
I think he will be moved eventually, but I think it's going to be at the Rangers' pace. Like, you guys know Chris Drury. He's calm. He doesn't throw temper tantrums. But once he makes a decision, he sticks with that decision. And, the Rangers have reached out to him to ask him to come back. Gerard Gallant did. They'd like him to go to Hartford, get ready, and then come back. Kravtsov's in Russia. He doesn't want to stay in Russia. He wants to go back to the National Hockey League. But I think he's decided that, barring a change of opinion, and I remember Jonathan Drouin said he'd never go back to Tampa, and he went back to Tampa before it was traded to Montreal. But Kravtsov at this point in time would like to start somewhere else. I do think there's interest, but this is, the tough thing about this kind of a situation, and Elias Anderson went through it, Jesse Puljujarvi went through it, and Edmonton decided to keep him. There becomes a battle, EJ, between what a team that has him thinks he's worth and what another team thinks he's worth. The Rangers still look at him as a guy who was a first-round pick 3 years ago and can still blossom, and other teams try to steal him with, hey, you were going to send him to the American Hockey League. He didn't make your roster this year, so we think he's worth a little bit less. It becomes the battle over that, and I think that's kind of where we are right now. But the last I'd heard this week is that Kravtsov had preferred to be traded elsewhere. We'll see if he changes his mind.
All right, fair enough. I got to ask you about the Blackhawks, Elliotte, because with all of the big splashes they made in the offseason with Marc-Andre Fleury and Seth Jones, and then, of course, Jonathan Toews coming back, fans in Chicago, I think, had hope that this season would, at the very least, be a fun one to watch. It hasn't quite gone that way. I know that it's early, but how much heat do you think there is on Jeremy Colliton right now if things don't start working out for the Blackhawks?
Well, obviously, there's heat, no question about it, Jackie, but I think the Blackhawks would really prefer to ride this out. Jeremy Colliton got an extension. If we do this right now, it's simply a matter of just throwing someone to the Lions, right? I don't think this is something they really want to do. I think the problem becomes, does it become untenable for your fan base? Like, I remember Brian Burke and Ron Wilson in Toronto. Brian Burke did not want to fire Ron Wilson, but you saw the way the crowd started to react to him, right? And Burke just said, look, I felt I had to do it. One of the big challenges this year is, we're coming back out of a pandemic. People want to sell tickets. And I do think that there will be fan pressure on the Chicago. Like, if their ticket sales really start to go soft, are they going to feel pressure to do something? So I think from a hockey point of view, they want to hold. I just wonder if it's going to become a business point of view where they feel that they have to do something.
Elliotte, I don't normally say, like as someone speaking, but you really took me back there with the Ron Wilson reference. It's like I was right back there in the thick of that, and it was a hot seat, that is for sure.
I'll tell you a story about that, Jackie.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Brian Burke and I got into a big fight. We didn't talk for a year. And one of the issues, and by the way, it was the most peaceful year of my life, but one of the issues was the debate over that. And I'd written that they may have no choice, and Burke got mad at me, and he's like, it's not happening, and then it did. But I understood, like, Burke saw what was going on in the stands, and he said that it wasn't what he wanted to do, but it was what he felt he had to do.
So who reached out to who first? Like, how did you guys become friends again?
Well, look, if you saw me and Brian Burke, you would ask, who's like the more mature person here? Obviously, I was. Yes.
A great story. Thank you so much for joining us, Elliotte. Have a great weekend.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Hi, Bruce. Take care.
You too, Elliotte. Nice talking to you.
Time now for the stat of the night with live insights from the SAP NHL Coaching Insights app. Taking a look at one of those young studs in Rasmus Dahlin. Look at some of these stats here. Skating distance. I love this stuff. They track this. It's gone up in all 3 games. His last game, 3.53 miles, despite his time on ice being the least of those 3. So, I don't know. He's logging the miles and not playing as many minutes. But either way, the Sabers are getting the wins, and that's all that counts.